From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at Noon, streaming now.
And we want to welcome you in here to the News at Noon. I'm Lauren Casey. Todd Clausen is standing by from home this midday with a check of our forecast. And Todd, it is a beautiful Monday, so hopefully people can get outside for their lunch hour.
Yeah, I encourage you to get outside once again. The nice weather from the weekend just carried right over here into the start of the work week. And today's probably the best weather day of the week, Lauren, simply because as we go forward in this week, we're not necessarily going to be dealing with a lot of rain chances, but we're going to build back in that haze from the wildfire smoke out to the west. Temperatures outside right now are sitting in the 60s and 70s, 70 on the nose in Muncie, 67 in Indy, 68 in Bloomington. And here's the view from IMS looking back towards downtown Indianapolis, and the skies are clear. No threat of any rainfall in the forecast for the day today. As you can see, the satellite radar picture features absolutely nothing, and really it's a very quiet weather pattern across most of the country. A little weak front there approaching Omaha, but that's going to stay to our north, so we do not have to worry about any of that in the forecast. So this afternoon, temperatures go up a couple more degrees into the mid to upper 70s. And then as soon as the sun sets, we'll fall back down into the 60s pretty quickly across the area. Tomorrow morning, we're in the 40s. That's the last of the really cool mornings as warmer air starts to work in during the overnight hours as well in the coming days. It's all in your 7-day planning forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thank you. New this midday from WRTV Investigates, the State Attorney General's office has filed a lawsuit against the Greenfield Monument Company following our reports about its business practices. Greenfield Granite is accused of taking money from the consumers and not providing the gravestones that they ordered. WRTV Investigates' Kara Kenny has been reporting for several weeks now about complaints against the company. 2 weeks ago, the Greenfield Granite owner, Amy Stroll, died by suicide just hours before a scheduled court appearance in a civil lawsuit against her. The new lawsuit asks for a restraining order to prevent the company from selling or transferring assets while the case is in court. In a statement, Attorney General Curtis Hill says, quote, "We want to ensure that any consumers harmed by this company's business practices receive refunds, or if they prefer, have their orders fulfilled if products remain available," end quote. Kara will have more on this latest development coming up tonight on the news at 6 o'clock. We are still working to learn more information about the police shooting over on the east side of Indianapolis, sending 3 people to the hospital. This all happened just before noon on Sunday when officers were called to this scene at Parkway Terrace Apartments on Pleasant Run Parkway. Police tell us when they arrived at the scene there was a large disturbance with a firearm. They say that a man then fired shots at a police officer. The officer returned fire, injuring the shooter. The gunman remains in the hospital along with 2 women who were also wounded. New this midday, we now know the names of 3 people who died in a Sunday plane crash up in Kokomo. The Howard County Sheriff's Office says that 2 of the victims were teenage brothers from Carmel. The 3rd victim was the pilot. The crash happened around 11:30 Sunday morning near Glendale Airport, shortly before the Glendale Days Barbecue Bash charity event. The Sheriff's Office says that the pilot was 63-year-old Gerald Allen Long of Kokomo. The teens were 17-year-old Liam Patrick Kelly and his 15-year-old brother, Reese David Kelly. Another teenager was injured in the crash and is still in the hospital. The cause of this crash is still under investigation. Well, the State Department of Health is out with new COVID-19 numbers. As has been the case following the weekend, the number of new cases is lower today. 535 new positive tests were reported, along with 7 additional deaths. The positive test rate does continue to slowly fall statewide. The focus of the race for the White House is shifting somewhat from the state of the pandemic to filling a vacancy on the Supreme Court. The death of this past Friday of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg will likely bring a showdown in Washington that could be impacted by this election. Today, demonstrators gathered outside of the offices of Republican Senators Mike Braun and Todd Young. They're among those calling on the Senate not to fill the vacancy on that court until after the presidential race. All the demonstrators in downtown Indy today were supporters of Democratic candidate Joe Biden. Today, murals are popping up on Washington, D.C. and elsewhere honoring the life of Justice Ginsburg. But the debate over who will replace her is only just beginning. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has more.
With early voting already underway in some states and the death of iconic feminist Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the wheels are in motion in the Republican-controlled Senate to fill the vacant Supreme Court seat before Election Day. The move energizing both conservative voters.
We're going to fill this seat.
And Biden supporters who don't want the seat filled until Americans make their choice for president this November.
Don't go there. Uphold your constitutional duty, your conscience. Let the people speak.
Just 4 years ago, Republican leaders were vehement in their opposition to a president picking a Supreme Court justice in an election year. In 2016, the court vacancy came more than 7 months before the election versus a month and a half this time.
Let's let the American people decide.
After blocking President Obama's hand-picked justice, GOP leaders vowed to do the same even if a Republican were president.
An opening comes in the last year of President Trump's term, and the primary process has started. We'll wait to the next election.
But now, with the Republican president, the party reversing course, moving ahead to fill Ginsburg's seat possibly before Election Day. Senator Lindsey Graham says all bets were off the table when Democrats tried to block Brett Kavanaugh's appointment to the nation's highest court, tweeting, "Chuck Schumer and his friends in the liberal media conspired to destroy the life of Brett Kavanaugh and hold that Supreme Court seat open." But Graham continued to vow not to confirm a justice in an election year, even after Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings. Democrats gearing up for what could be an ugly political battle.
We have our options. We have arrows in our quiver that I'm not about to discuss right now.
The fight sure to be a focal point for voters, as is the COVID-19 pandemic, which has infected more than 6.5 million Americans and left almost 200,000 dead. And back to that Supreme Court vacancy, the president has yet to name a nominee, but said today that he will announce one either Friday or Saturday, and added that he's committed to picking a woman. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, Washington.
Well, several reports say the frontrunner to be President Trump's nominee is a conservative federal appeals court judge from right here in Indiana. Judge Amy Coney Barrett was nominated by Trump to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals and confirmed by the Senate back in 2017. Barrett is also a professor at Notre Dame Law School. Well, WRTV is your source for all you need to know before November 3rd. You can go to our Vote in 2020 digital section at WRTV.com. There you'll find everything you need to know, including who's on your ballot, where and when you can vote, and any other questions you may have this election season. Again, you can find that all at WRTV.com/vote in 2020. So the extra money is finally on its way for some unemployed Hoosiers. Up next, how much they'll be getting and why this cash will be short-lived. Todd.
And Lord, another beautiful day in progress here across central Indiana. The last official day of summer as fall arrives on the calendar starting tomorrow. Live look from downtown to the north shows not a cloud in the sky. We do need some rainfall, though, across central Indiana. We'll show you how far we're below normal coming up in your full WRTV Storm Team forecast. And the news at noon continues right here on WRTV.
Welcome back. Today is the day that 164,000 Hoosiers will start receiving that extra $300 in weekly unemployment benefits, as President Trump promised about 2 months ago. Those receiving the money will get 6 weeks worth of payments. The extra money under the president's executive order is already spent.
Indiana, we learned on Friday that our unemployment rate now is down to 6.4%. It's a very good sign, lower than our neighboring states and most of the Midwest here, well below the national average. So we continue to see fewer and fewer Hoosiers needing these benefits. But for the $300 program, that 6 weeks is it now. Again, that's not a state-based decision. That comes from the funding that's available for the program.
In all, $300 million will be issued this week to Hoosiers who are eligible for the extra payments. While this federal program is done, Richardson says that Indiana still has funds to cover its state benefits. If you're still looking for work, though, you can join WRTV and the Indiana Black Expo for a free Zoom webinar on preparing for virtual job interviews. It's underway right now and it runs until 2 o'clock this afternoon. You can then put what you learned to good use at our next virtual Hiring Hoosiers Employment Opportunity Fair there. That starts at noon tomorrow. It's also free. Companies looking to hire include FedEx, First Merchants Bank, Indianapolis Airport Authority, Lowe's, and many more. For more information and to register, you can find this story at hiringhoosiers.com. Still waiting for justice 5 years later. Next, how a family is still looking for answers and hope from the public can help them solve a young man's murder. And let's take a live look outside right now. This is our camera in Greencastle, the DePaul University. You can see those blue, clear skies. Todd will have a breakdown of our forecast for the rest of your Monday and your work week ahead. That's all coming up right here on the News at Noon. Stick around. Well, it has now been 5 years with no answers or justice for the family of a 10-year-old boy who was shot and killed. The FBI is offering a $25,000 reward for any information on the death of Deshaun Swanson. Our Troy Washington shows us how the community is reacting to this renewed push for justice.
This crime scene tape is left blowing in the wind, a sign that crime still hasn't taken a break and continues to surge in the city. Deshaun Swanson was the rallying call for the Butler-Tarkington neighborhood, and I think that's what caused the people in Butler-Tarkington to stand up and say enough is enough. And because of that, the neighborhood has been one of the model neighborhoods in the city when it comes to, reducing violence. It's been 5 years since Swanson was killed in a drive-by shooting on Graceland. To this day, there are no answers, but there is a renewed call to action to the tune of $25,000 being offered by the FBI. For it to have gone on 5 years, and we know people have information about this, but yet no one has come forward yet. And I'm hoping that someone would be moved by their conscience and will come forward. The loss has inspired change in the neighborhood, but it doesn't seem that closure will fully be accomplished until Swanson's murderer is caught. Reverend Harrison has been working to stop the violence for years. This particular loss has always stuck with him. This 10-year-old who was just out playing and ended up being the victim of senseless violence. So I had a son who was also 10 years old at the time. So, when I remembered that could have been my son. WRTV talked with a neighbor who lives in the Butler-Tarkington neighborhood. In fact, his son played Pop Warner football with Swanson.
Whoever done that outrageous crime, should be held accountable for it.
He says one parent to another, he knows what it's like to worry.
Being around this neighborhood, sometimes when your kids grow up and they say they're going to the park, you always wonder if they're going to come home safe or not, and so the only thing you can do is just pray about that.
He just wants his community to break the code of silence so the Swanson family can finally find closure. Working for you in Butler-Tarkington, Troy Washington, WRTV.
Troy, thank you. Now that $25,000 reward is being offered through Operation Legend. That's the federal effort announced last month to reduce gun violence here in Indianapolis. A much different story here at home. The continued dry conditions causing problems for firefighters all across the state. This large fire Sunday afternoon destroyed part of a soybean field. This was out in Wayne County. No injuries were reported, and it was one of several field fires that happened all across our state. The state fire marshal has issued a warning to be careful when you're burning outdoors. The fire marshal says you need to make sure you have water nearby and a way to extinguish the fire if one starts. And our yards are going to stay brown and crispy a little bit longer, Todd, because no rain in the forecast today.
Yeah, not today, and really not much in the forecast this week. One thing we'll wait on and see if we can get some rain for is Tropical Storm Beta, which is down in the Gulf of Mexico. But even that doesn't look like, even if it does bring us some showers, it's going to bring us the amount of rainfall we need. Take a look at the numbers as far as where we are below normal for the month of September in some various cities across the area. Indianapolis and Shelbyville just over 2 inches below normal in the rain gauge. Bloomington approaching 2 inches. And then you get to some northern locations, Muncie and Lafayette. Your numbers are a lot better, but they're skewed a little bit because you got quite a bit of rainfall at the beginning of the month around Labor Day. But since then, you've been pretty dry. So you're really starting to dry up there in northern locations as well, even though the numbers don't reflect that. And here's the view from downtown to the north, and nothing but sunshine out there this morning and now into the afternoon hours. And with that sunshine, temperatures are climbing into the 60s in most locations, up to 70 now in Muncie, but 67 a pretty common number there in Greenwood, Indy, as well as Kokomo. We should get get up to about 77 here this afternoon for your high temperature, which is seasonable for this time of year. Our normal high is 76, so it's just a sunny, seasonable day for us all across the area. And as far as temperatures region-wide, we'll get about to 75 in Columbus, 73 in Richmond, a little warmer off towards the east, or west rather, in Terre Haute, as well as Lafayette, getting up to right around 78 degrees. The weather pattern is quiet. There's a weak little front off to our west. That's just about it. Here is tropical storm Beta, pretty unorganized, but just bringing some heavy rain to parts of Texas. This is going to start to make its way back through Louisiana and Mississippi. We may get a glancing blow from it with just some scattered showers in southern locations on Thursday, but that's probably our best bet, and the likelihood of that remains pretty small, but we'll be optimistic that maybe we can get a little bit of rain in here. Otherwise, this evening, sunset 7:43. Once the sun sets, temperatures cool back down into the 40s overnight tonight. In fact, tomorrow morning is going to be pretty widespread in the 40s as far as temperatures go. It's the coolest morning we have left in this upcoming week as temperatures will start to moderate. Highs tomorrow back into the mid-70s with sunshine even after that cool start. And then as we work our way throughout the week, the one thing you'll notice, this is the wildfire smoke tracker, and you can see the gray coming back into Indiana. So yesterday we had that bright blue sky. It's not bad here today either. The sky is going to become a little hazier or milkier as we work our way into Tuesday, Wednesday, and potentially Thursday as well. The best chance of rain in this forecast is going to be over the weekend, Saturday into Sunday as a front approaches. But even then, Lauren, it's been so dry, that's definitely not a guarantee. We may have to fine-tune that forecast as we get a little closer.
All right, Todd, thank you so much. So if you are tired of those unknown numbers popping up on your phone, there are some apps out there that can slow them down. But as Tim Maniscalco with the Better Business Bureau tells us, while you might block some of the calls, you may also open the door to your personal information getting out.
Well, we all receive robocalls, and it seems like they have just skyrocketed in the last couple of years. Now, robocalls in general are illegal in the United States. There's a couple of exceptions for that. Charities, political calls, calls from your healthcare provider, your doctor, those types of things, those are permitted. But in most cases, robocalls are illegal. So a lot of people have gotten these robocall blocking apps. Now, in general, these blocking apps are good. They do block most robocalls. They can't block all of them. And I will tell you, there's also some technology out there that the scammers have discovered where they can override some of the robocall blocking apps. So they are generally good, but you will block every single one of them. Now, the one thing you do have to be careful of is some of these blocking apps, they will ask for access to all of your voicemail messaging, getting into that. Some people aren't particularly comfortable with that. So the best advice is if you do want to get one of those robocall blocking apps, read everything, make certain you're very, very comfortable with it. Like I said, in most cases, these blocking apps do block a lot of robocalls, and it will cut down on those, but you may be giving up just a little bit of your privacy. So just make certain that you understand what you're doing when you do get one of those apps. So just read and make certain you know exactly what's going to be happening with your privacy when you do get those apps.
Tim, thank you. You can find out more about this robocall blocking app scam online by going to bbb.org. We'll have more news and one final check of your forecast coming up just after the break. Welcome back. So they got married when he was just 17 and she was 16, and everyone said it wouldn't last. Well, now 85 years later, this Nebraska couple holds the record for America's oldest, longest living married couple. Ralph and Dorothy Kohler celebrated their big anniversary this past weekend. So how have they avoided conflict over more than 8 decades? Well, Ralph says the best way to get out of it would be to just agree with his wife. Smart man there, Todd. I hope you're taking notes.
Sure are there. Put them in the memory bank there, Lauren.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, outside right now it's sunny. It's going to stay that way this afternoon. Temperatures into the mid to upper 70s. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, 78. Spot shower chance on Thursday. But one thing you notice is low temperatures the next couple days. After we get past tomorrow, it won't be nearly as cool overnight. And as we get towards the weekend, some rain chances enter the forecast, but they're pretty spotty.
All right, Todd, thank you. And thank you for joining us and making WRTV your choice for news. Come back and join here at the news at 5. Have a great day.